Thank you for joining us. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Kristen Johnson. She has gone through so much in her life. The roller coaster that led her to our podcast today was meant to be so she could help other people. She has done a lot of growing and, fortunately or unfortunately, had to go into incarceration. She does have 19 felonies. And if you see and hear about her work, you're going to be amazed because that has only made her stronger. She helps so many men and women in the community, and her help is expanding and reaching through many cities, counties in Arizona, and now to other states in the United States. So I'm honored to speak with Kristen Johnson today so we can learn about all the programs available, all the programs she's in the works of creating, and the work that she's doing today. Welcome, Kristen. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We have so much to talk about.
Yes.
And I'm very grateful that you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I think the issue sometimes is that as a society, we don't really want to talk
Mm-hmm.
or address the fact that women get charged with crimes.
Yes.
It affects their lives,
Mhm.
their own children, and sometimes they go into incarceration.
Yes.
I think that it is something that people shy away from discussing. And I've approached other people to come to our show,
Mhm.
but people are scared to share their story.
Right.
So I'm very grateful that you are willing to discuss, and you do that day in and day out.
Yes.
And that's very brave of you.
Thank you.
A lot of times there is this overwhelming shame when women get released from prison and then they try to find a new normal
Right.
that a lot of times means tucking away or ignoring or
Mhm.
not addressing what happened.
Right.
So you have gone in and out of incarceration, but the underlying issue, and please correct me as we
Mhm.
go if I misunderstood something, you've battled with addiction
Yes.
to drugs and alcohol.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely anytime I've landed in incarceration, jail is because of my addiction, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
I've been addicted to street drugs. My addiction really started though when I have some problems with my neck. My addiction really started though in my mid 30s with pain pills from my doctor. And then it's pain pills, antidepressants, muscle relaxers. And then when I finally, years later, wanted to get off those, I started drinking, and alcohol was even worse for me. I always say alcohol is the worst drug for me that I've ever done, even though it's legal. I started drinking really heavily in um, January of 2015. And by February of 2017, I was going to prison. Like
Quick.
that quick. That's how quick. I mean, I made the choice, but that's how quick me drinking alcohol and my mental health was suffering too. But yeah, within a couple of years, that's all it took.
Do you think that as a society, we are okay with women drinking
Absolutely.
wine,
Absolutely.
and there's a lot of emphasis on girls' night out, happy hour.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of even what we see in media
Mm-hmm.
is that there's always some kind of wine glass or cocktail
Right.
around women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And nobody really is looking at how much they're drinking.
Right. And I do always find that when I see like women having a glass of wine, sometimes I do think, wow, I wish I could have a glass of wine like that and be normal, but I can't. But since I became an alcoholic, I literally do look at alcohol a lot different. Like I can't believe it's legal. And I know there's people that drink every day,
Yeah.
but I was incarcerated with so many women that not just drugs, alcohol is a real thing. I have people in my program that struggle with alcohol. And yeah, I used to, have those days when I would go out with my friends when I was like in my 20s. And it was really strange because for so long, I would just randomly drink here and there, sometimes a couple times a year, sometimes on New Year's, that my alcoholism, it didn't really take hold until I was in my late 30s. I didn't, and maybe it's just because then I was busy raising my kids and everything, and I knew to pull back from it, but I think my mental health had a lot to do with it. But yeah, well, we'd drive by a bar on the way home from prison, and the girls would be like, "I can't wait to go do that." And I'm like, "I could never do that ever again." And they said, "You can't just have one drink?" Absolutely not. And if I ever think I can, then that's when it's going to go downhill because I can't. I know I can't.
And learning that self-limitation
Mhm. Mhm.
was not an easy thing for you.
No. No.
It took several tries.
Yes, and it literally took me going to prison. I don't know if I would ever quit. Um, we were walking through a casino recently on our way to a motel, and I was thinking, like, I'm going to stop and put $20 in. And I had to stop myself. And I'm not addicted to gambling, but I'm so worried about being addicted to something.
Yeah.
And I used to be in the casino. I'm just going to be honest. I used to like buy drugs and sell drugs in the casino. So just that whole thing, if I put in my mind, I'm like, if I put $20 in there, pretty soon I'm going to be over there drinking beer, which I might be being extreme, but I know I won't even scratch scratchers. I am too cognizant of my addictions.
I know people,
Mhm,
as a criminal defense attorney,
mhm,
I see and things through different lenses, but I do know people who quit drinking,
mhm,
stop doing drugs,
mhm,
so they're sober,
mhm.
but then they develop other
Yeah.
addictions. Gambling is one of them.
Mhm,
Then they're either chain
mhm.
smokers, they drink who knows how many energy drinks a day.
Right.
They drink gallons of coffee. There are all these other stimulants
Yeah.
that are kind of a replacement sometimes. But what people like, I have clients who have said, I'm clean and sober.
Mhm,
Like, I haven't been drinking for 15 years.
mhm.
But they use cocaine
Right.
and they use meth,
Right.
right?
But they don't drink, so
Right. They're sober.
mhm,
And and so I think that what was your, because you, until you went into custody to prison,
mhm.
right? You had two sentences,
Yeah,
right?
2. Mhm.
5 years and
Yeah.
7 years, right?
And then yeah, what was it?
But before that, you had been in trouble.
Oh, yeah. So I'd been in trouble earlier on, like when my kids were very little. Their dad, and he actually passed away from running from the police. This is in 1997. Their dad used drugs, and I had struggled until I had my 2 little girls, and then I knew better than to. I was raised really good, and he continued to. So he ended up passing away, and but I went to jail several times then, and then I would get a long length of sobriety, and then again, like, it was legal when I started abusing the pain pills, and I say the same thing, though. I say, "Oh, I had, like, almost 17 years sober." I really didn't because I was totally addicted to pain pills, and even though they were from the doctor, when I ran out, I would get them somewhere else, you know what I mean? Totally addicted to them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. How does one realize and accept that they are addicted to painkillers? I
Well,
think that's a tough one.
it is, and I know a ton of people that I was in prison with. I just know a lot of people, period, that their addiction started with pain pills, because they used to just widely prescribe them. I had a lot of problems with my neck, and like I'd get a pain pill for my grandma, I'd get a pain pill for my dad, and I kind of like the way it made me feel. But when I found that doctor that was like, "Oh, here, yeah," and wrote me just like 8 different scripts, I don't think he's practicing anymore. But and then I would just go back every month, and it used to be they could give you 90 days, but I knew when I was counting the pills because I knew how many I could take a day, and it's a strange addiction too because after I quit, um, just the whole rattle of the pill bottle. I know that sounds crazy, but the whole, what did they say? The whole action of it, like the whole ritual of opening the bottle and taking it, and you're so used to it that the same with alcohol. I don't think people realize how ritualistic addiction is because even though you quit using the substance, everything you did to lead up to using it, that part of the high, you know what I mean? Like with cocaine, the part of the high with going and getting it. And it
Yeah.
really cracks me up that people think that when they're using cocaine, they're sober because cocaine has fentanyl in it. People die from cocaine all the time now,
Yeah.
you know?
the ritual
Mhm.
is part of the satisfaction,
For
isn't it?
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But because what I've seen a lot of times is the physical issue.
Mhm.
Sometimes a car accident,
Mhm.
sometimes it's a surgery that went wrong.
Mhm.
And so then there is a painkiller,
Mhm.
there's a muscle relaxer,
Yeah.
and then there's some sleeping pills,
Mhm.
right?
And some
If
antidepressants.
and then one thing leads to another.
Mhm.
Depression, sometimes anxiety kicks in.
Yep.
And so, what do you think about all the band-aids that we put, especially in the medical industry? Because people, were you ever asked by a medical provider, like, can you look at different alternatives instead of writing you a script?
Well, I did have one doctor that said we need to look into you having surgery, and he would send me and get some injections and all that, but I he also would keep giving me pain pills, and I mean, it's not his fault. I would be there, and you can get your prescriptions filled like a couple days early. I would be at Walgreens 2 days before, as soon as I could, to get those pain pills. And when I stopped taking pain pills, it wasn't so bad because I was just like on regular Percocets. I don't mean to minimize it, but
Yeah.
not Oxycontin or anything. Or what was really hard for me, and when I started drinking, was withdrawing from Valium because it's a benzodiazepine, and that is a horrible withdrawal. And they just kept saying, if you just take a shot of vodka, if you just take a shot of vodka, and I kept saying like,
While you were withdrawn?
yeah, it'll like calm my nerves, and I kept saying like, I'll become an alcoholic, and I did like bad. Bad alcoholics. In the last year before I went to prison, I was hospitalized like 3 times, like, in the 7 months before I went in, like, on my deathbed, and they're like, "You can't keep drinking." I had fatty liver disease.
Yeah.
I looked horrible. Like, if you see pictures of me before I went to prison, I'm very puffy. It doesn't really look like the same person. Um,
But the physical effects, the withdrawals are real.
Horrible.
And some people don't want to go through that. And that's
Absolutely.
why they sometimes the fear of what they're going to feel gets to them.
Oh, yeah, and with alcohol, I knew though if I could get through it. I detoxed several times, and I went to medical detox, which is nothing. They just watch you to make sure you're okay. But I would go right back out and drink, and I don't think it was my fear of being sick. It was like I can do this. I'm gonna wean off. But in the midst of being sick, like can't breathe, can't, very sick, I would be begging people to go get me alcohol, and I would make it so hard when they wouldn't. That You know what I mean? I would be such a jerk and act so
Your
bad.
friends and family.
Yeah, that my husband that would go get it, and then as soon as I got drunk, I would be yelling at him like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just totally selfish, but that's the thing. I don't know how much you know about fentanyl, but it's so bad right now, and anybody you talk to, like, "Why don't you quit?" They're so scared, and I can't even imagine. They say the withdrawal is like 100 times worse than having the flu. I know how bad alcohol withdrawals are,
Mhm.
and I just can't even imagine how bad it must be because they'd rather live in the street and lay on the sidewalk than actually get help. It's just very crazy.
But now you're on the other side.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, can you say now that going through the withdrawal, going through the hardship of all the steps you took, even detox and went
Mhm.
back out
Mhm.
and used or drank and so forth, was it worse going through the withdrawal symptoms and everything to get to the other side? It's a ritual.
Right.
Just say it's part of the initiation because when you are completely sober,
Mhm.
you have to address the underlying problem.
Absolutely. And that's the issue, I think, is, and I always say this, people go to rehab or detox, and then, I have them talked into where they're going to go to treatment, but they get through detox and they're like, I'm good. I don't need to go now. Well, there's a huge difference in between feeling better and actually being better. I tell people that all the time. Just because you feel better doesn't mean you are better. Because they get to feeling okay, they don't address the underlying problems, and then whatever led them there in the first place leads them back to abusing drugs and alcohol.
I have met people who go to, they call it rehab, they
Mhm.
go for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
and then they come out and they're like, "I'm good.
Yeah,
I feel at top of the world. I'm
right.
great."
Mhm.
What's the difference between those short stints versus working through it all?
So the difference in the short stints is you don't even have it all the way out of your system. You don't even, but you get in there and they say, we're going to cure you in 20 to 30 days. I was thinking the other day, rehab does work, but it's got to be long term because like with me, I went for 60 to 90 days, but a pain pill and alcohol problem that it took me years to build is not going to be cured in 30 days, and I think people just think, "Oh, I went to rehab, now I'm good." You gotta continue doing steps, not necessarily steps, AA
Yeah.
steps. That is one option, though. I have a meeting with people in my group every Monday night. It's all pathways to recovery. It's not just AA, it's not anything like that, and some people just aren't ready. There is such a physical like, addiction to alcohol, like, I can still feel, like, how it feels to, like, burn my throat.
Yeah.
I know what the outcome is, so I would never do it, but I can't say I'm never triggered by it, that I'm never why would just I'm saying, just like the burn, just like the cracking of the thing, just all that, and I've been sober for 7 years. But there's such a part of addiction is there's just this obsession, like, you just obsess about it, you know?
Is it maybe because it's just a numbing agent?
Yeah, that's how it definitely became for me because especially after I got in trouble and I was definitely going for 5 years and then I was on the run. In my mind, I was like, I'm never going to prison. I'm either gonna just drink. I wouldn't even address anything. I just was wanted to stay drunk until I just thought it was gonna go away or something. But I got to where I was so physically ill, I had to drink just to stay like, well, and I still didn't feel good. I had fatty liver disease, I looked horrible, I was like I say this, I wasn't suicidal, per se, but I say I drank to die, and I did. Like, I would wake up in the morning and be like, "How can a person drink that much and still live?" And on top of that, I would get drunk and just do random drugs. I'm lucky I'm alive, you know?
Yeah.
When I went to rehab, um when I went to check into the rehab, they had me give UA and they said, "What's your drug of choice?" And I was already going to prison. I said, "Alcohol." And he said, "Okay." So he went back, took my urine. And this isn't funny, but he comes back and he goes, "Hey, did you do a little cocaine this weekend?" And I go, "Did I?" Like, I couldn't remember. I mean, it's not funny, but it is kind of
Right.
fun. It's,
You
now.
didn't register that as the culprit. You thought
Yeah.
alcohol and
Hmm.
the other one was kind
Yeah. And I didn't really remember anyways, but he's
of
like, "Yeah, you did." And I was laughing kind of. And so then when I told my kids about that though, and I thought they were going to think it was funny, they didn't think it was funny. You know what I mean? They were like, but cocaine is like a party drug now, I guess, and I kids are dying or people are dying from overdosing
but things
from
are not
fentanyl and cocaine.
clean. When you
No.
get on the streets, they're not
No.
clean. They're mixed up with other things.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Some people call them party supplies. Yeah. Um, you mentioned your kids.
Mhm.
When you were dealing with your addiction before you went to
Mhm.
prison, you already had children,
Yeah.
but they were older. How old were they?
So through my whole pain pill addiction though, which I came home and slept every night. I've always been really wound up and really like my house had to be really clean. So they just always knew me like that. But I think Presley was about 18 when it started. So Shelby was like 21.
Yeah.
And so now Presley is 29 and Shelby is 32. But it was really hard for them. Number one, because I was causing all kind of havoc, because I had always been this, like, soccer mom, never missed a basketball game, my house was always very clean, like, they were spoiled, like,
Yeah.
all the shoes they wanted, for me to become, like, a burden, because then I would be coming to their house, I left my husband, got with this guy that was bad, I'd bring him around my kids, I was drunk all the time, so I wasn't, like, available to my grandkids, I had helped raise one of my grandsons, and then I just took off, so it has been hard on him. I mean, I called Presley one night and I said, "Presley, I'm walking down the road," I was crying, "I don't have any shoes on, but I have a duffel bag, will you come pick me up?" And finally one time she was like, "Mom, I have a baby, I'm married, I can't keep doing that." So I've always worried that, I was such a great mom growing up that I was worried for a long time, like, do they even remember that? Do they just think I'm this train wreck? Which, it's been 7 years, 8 years now, and I was in prison for a long time, and I used to really judge people that lost their kids when they were growing up or gave their kids away or didn't care about their kids because they were doing drugs, but then my addiction just came later in life,
Yeah.
I would like to think that I'm such this amazing person and that I was raised so well that I wouldn't have done that. But I did have, some addiction issues when my kids were growing up, but as soon as it started, anything got started getting serious, like anybody was like, "We're gonna call the cops, we're gonna take your kids away." I was straightened right up. That was one thing you were not gonna do was take my kids from me. And that kept me sober for a long time.
Yeah.
Sober-ish, because I was still on pain pills.
So, what advice can you give people about repairing those relationships that get affected by addiction, incarceration, or both?
Mhm.
Because I see it all the
Yeah.
time. It's not only a spouse, but it's their children,
Mhm.
it's the grandbabies,
Mhm.
it's moms and dads,
Mhm.
brothers and sisters. And every relationship is different,
Yeah.
but how do you start?
So, and I did work the steps. I did get sober through AA, and I love AA. It's not for everybody, but whether you want to work your steps or not, if you will follow some of those guidelines, you have to reach out to people. If you're incarcerated, at least write them a letter. And people have to be aware, though, that not everybody is going to forgive you. Not everybody is going to accept that, because sometimes we have done such horrible things when we're out, not incarcerated, that people aren't going to forgive. And I always say my addiction, I didn't hurt my family as in steal from them, as in beat them or yell at them or whatever, because I mostly stayed away. But I absolutely hurt my family,
Yeah.
and my mom and dad. And I'm lucky enough to have that support system. My family just wanted me to get better. I went long times without talking to them and them speaking to me. But my family, we repaired those relationships. One thing I did have to tell my husband, though, is because I had left my husband, got with somebody else. One thing I did have to tell him was, I got a cough. You'll have to edit that out. You're good. Um, when he would come visit me, I would have to tell him, let's work through this here. And he would do his part of the forgiveness. I need a drink or something.
Yeah, stay. I'll get you water.
Okay. I got a tickle in my throat.
That's okay. Chris will get it for you.
A tickle in my throat. That's weird. That sounds just like my mom. I've never said that before.
We adopt
I know.
some things that, yeah.
How long you been friends with Bill?
With who?
Bill?
Oh, Bill. Oh, years.
17 here.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm listening to the story from the other room.
Yeah.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Keep
Oh,
it here.
really?
You want to
Yeah, let me put it right here just in case.
Yeah, keep it down. There you go.
Okay, so when my husband would come visit me, because we weren't really together when I went, when he would come visit me, we kind of worked through it. And he did own his part in it. He said, I watched you go crazy before my very eyes. And our relationship was bad. We didn't talk. We were both very stubborn. And we'd been together a long time. And he told me, he said, I watched you go crazy and I didn't try to help you. And he did own some things, like, I know I wasn't supportive. I know I didn't go places with you. And so we worked through that. But I had told him too, like, if you can forgive me and we can move on, let's do it. Like, we worked through all that, but you cannot continually be bringing up to me, or not that I want an absolution, but for us to move forward, we have to be willing to forgive each other and
Yeah.
move on.
the resentment
Yes.
can't get in the way. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the resentment, the resentment of him resenting me or speaking to me about it. Not that we can never speak about it, but I do have one grandson. He's 16 now. So when he was born, his mom was really young. I was only 36, and we've had him a lot. Like, he's always lived with us, him and his mom. But she's moved out and gotten another boyfriend, whatever. But I always raised him. So I always say I didn't take off and leave my kids. But when he was 6, I left and I was drinking and his mom was there. And a couple of times recently, somehow I've gotten into a conversation with him. And I asked him the other day, I said, listen, I want to know if me leaving has something to do with what you're going through. Because he's got a lot of teenage angst, teenagers, just all the normal.
Yeah.
And he said, well, it definitely didn't help. And I want to give you space to
Yeah.
talk to me about that, because I can feel some resentment there. So it doesn't just go away when you get sober. This is a kid that I've never really considered. Like, my girls know me. They're just so glad I'm back and everything. And they,
This is a different layer, a
different layer.
relationship.
Yep, because I was because what he remembers is like he was 5. I was always there till then I started drinking, took off. I was gone for 8 years, and so yeah, that's a different layer to that because I am like his parent. And so, like I said, when I used to be judgmental of girls, like, how could you take off and leave your kids? How could you do that? I was sitting in prison in an AA meeting, actually, and it hit me like, you did do that. You did that to Bryden. You did that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, if I am hearing you correctly, the repairs, the mending of relationship evolves. It's never ending.
No, it evolves, and it definitely does. It evolves, and I always say, like, I prayed every single day when I was in prison that my parents would still be alive, and they are, and it does evolve, but I'm with them all the time. I have to say, people for the most part love a good comeback story, but there are people still in my community that, with my job,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be letting her, why would you let her head up this program for addicts? Well, because I am one. You know what I mean? I'm the perfect person for that. But people in my position that I have think I'm not deserving because I've been to prison. But the population I work with is incarcerated individuals and addicts. But
Well, as an outsider, I think that people who could help others
mhm,
who are going through incarceration and addiction
mhm.
are people who have lived through it.
Right.
I think not until maybe about 10, 15 years ago,
Mhm,
where there was that blockbuster show about women
mhm.
incarcerated, that it was not a mainstream discussion,
Right.
the shaming,
Right.
but we don't treat males that way.
No.
We don't
Mm-mm.
at all. And you live in a smaller
Yeah,
town
I do. Mhm,
in Arizona.
mhm.
And so that has
Oh, yeah,
a a different connotation.
for sure.
Yeah.
And they have a hard time. Here's the thing, people in small communities, at least mine, have a hard time even addressing that there is a drug problem there. That they don't really want to speak about it.
Hmm.
And I have a program there called the Sunrise Program. And if they get arrested and have a minor drug or paraphernalia charge, the judge will release them to the Sunrise Program. And they have to do the classes and they have to do pretrial services. But we found that with the support and connection, I have 5 of them that have been through the beginning that graduated the program and they still come every week.
Yeah.
And it's we're just very supportive. I'm on their level. I sit down with them and talk to them because a lot of times people say to me all the time, girls like you don't go to prison. You're too attractive to go to prison. No, I was there and there's a lot of different kind of people there, but it is so sad.
Yeah.
I know moms and daughters in prison, real life daughters and daughters, but you become this family because there's so much trauma. So many of these women and people, I don't know if they believe it, have been human trafficked. And I don't mean out on the street. I mean also
Yeah.
from their boyfriends through women have a hard, it's hard. It is different. It's very different. And when they come out, all the girls that come out to our program, and then I have to give it to them. They work at McDonald's, to start up. They work at Jack in the Box. They walk to work. The men that get out to my program, they go work side jobs in construction. They get jobs right away.
Yeah.
And the girls really struggle, but they're all doing it.
Yeah. So that's a good segue because you are involved in so many programs. I had to make a cheat sheet of the lists of
Mhm,
things that
mhm,
you're doing. Um, and before we jump into everything that you're doing now, I want to talk about and highlight. I think it was a pivotal point in your recovery
mhm.
when you were incarcerated and COVID hit.
Yeah, it was.
Can you talk about how you had no choice? You had to choose whether to stay clean and sober
Mhm,
and how you were going to do that
mhm.
because then everything was cut off.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how you developed your own?
Yes, so we in COVID, obviously, and I was on a big yard then, 1,200 women, and there's 4 great big bays, so they really kept us separated, but we were really locked in together. And before that, we were able to go to church and in prison, and I'm a Christian, but I have a certain specific church I go to. But I'm telling you, before that, I would go to any Christian church. I would go to the Catholic services. I would go to
Yeah.
all the different churches
Before COVID, you mean?
before COVID, because you just we went to one called Church on the Street because they had music and
Yep.
you could sing. And since when COVID happened, everything was just locked down.
Yeah.
And we were doing the Way Out program where we would walk each other through how it was going to be when we got out. Just like you said, repairing relationships, triggers, all that, we just got cut off. So we just got together and started having our own. We would meet in the day room. We would have an all pathways. We would have instead of AA, we would call EA, like or everything's anonymous. Yeah, everything's anonymous.
Yeah.
We would just talk about whatever we are addicted to, because there's girls in prison too that say, "Oh, I'm not a drug addict." Well, you wouldn't be here if you're not some kind of addict. So we started that, and I really wanted to get back to my yard where I was on, where I could leave, and we were shut down for like a year and a half. And that's another thing in COVID is they kept saying they always think that the visitors bring in the drugs. There was girls testing positive for meth. There was girls overdosing, one overdose from heroin during COVID. So it wasn't just coming, it was coming, it was coming from the officers, or it was coming through the kitchen officers, because we didn't have visitation.
Yeah.
But there's also
So it's
girls.
not the visits, because I do get those calls at the firm.
Mhm.
They're employees
Mhm.
of the Department of Corrections
Right.
most of the time who bring in. And so if one wants to use drugs in prison, you can find them, right?
For sure. And the thing, and not so much as just the department. There's people that come in and do work in the kitchen, like the white shirts, but they've stopped all mail in Arizona. It now goes to a tablet, because you can definitely find it, because people abuse people's psych meds. There's different kinds of, like, gabapentin is huge. It gets sold huge in prison yards.
They cheek it, right? And they sell it.
Oh, there's even worse ways they do it, because they crushed it up for a while and they had to take it right in front of them, and they would spit it back, and it's horrible. It was horrible. But spice is a huge problem in Arizona, in all prisons
In
everywhere.
prison?
Yeah, so they send it in on paper, and then you can smoke it.
The actual paper.
The actual paper, and meth comes in that way. So that's why Arizona has gone to everything is going in on the tablets. But one prison I go to in Fort Grant, they said, we haven't had mail for a long time, but it comes in on legal mail. Now, I'm not saying it comes from
Oh.
lawyers
They
specifically.
pretend to be a lawyer.
That's it. And
Yeah.
everybody's like, "Oh, they can't disguise it as in prison.
the
We can do
time.
anything. We know exactly." I mean,
Yeah.
people are smart, but so that's a huge problem. But
I know 2 instances I've gotten calls from the Department of Corrections looking at mail that has my name, but it doesn't match anything else. But it does say legal mail, and
Yeah.
it has my name to people I've never met. And so they try.
because they can't open it.
Once they have my consent,
Right.
they can,
Right.
because it's not mine. So I do know that they try to do that. People get creative. When
yeah.
people are addicted, they do get creative.
And there's a lot of money in that out here, like families putting money on other families' books, and it's just a big racket, honestly. But another thing is they have MAT services in prison now, and I don't even know if you know what
They
that
have
is.
what?
Medically assisted treatment in prisons now.
No, tell me about it.
Okay, so MAT is medically assisted treatment. So if you're like on heroin out on the streets, if you're on an opiate, you can go somewhere and they will give you, it's called Suboxone. Have you
Right.
heard of Suboxone?
Yeah.
So, and it used to be meant to taper you off. Some people are going to be on it from life because they are so badly addicted.
Yeah. I know people 10, 15 years that have been on it.
And then the methadone. So when I was getting out of prison, they started offering MAT services in prison, which is crazy because we're all sober, right? So I can see we're offering to people where they're coming out, but there's ladies I know that aren't getting out, but they offer them MAT services. So I hate to say it out here because I work with the department, but it's a money thing. You know what I mean? It's got to be, because so you go to certain yards and they're
Where
just,
they're contractors, right?
that's what it is.
They're
Right.
contractors. And for people that don't understand what this means, let's share everything, because incarceration is not something that is cheap. Is not something that people do it for the goodness of their heart. Everything that involves prison services has a price tag
Yeah.
attached to it.
Mhm.
So all the phone calls that the loved ones make, right? They need to have a card.
Mhm.
If they want to buy something, they need to have money inside. You can buy little things, or you can buy big things like a small TV,
Mhm.
right? Or headphones. Everybody wants a piece of that pie.
Correct.
So sales are a big thing.
Mhm.
And don't get me started with talking about services that are court mandated that also use agencies, and it's not to help people stay clean and sober. They're money making machines, millions of dollars in contracts with courts, and people have to pay. So there are different ways. I think that there's a way to clean up and provide services that are not costing families so much.
Mhm.
And also make things a little more ethical, right? That
Right.
it's not only a price tag
Mhm.
attached to it. It's money making.
You're right, for sure.
And there's so many men going to prison that we
Mhm.
do have private prisons that
Right.
are running as part of contracts as
For
well.
sure. Mhm.
Yeah. But the biggest thing that you are now doing is that you made a promise
Mhm.
before you got out of prison,
Mhm.
and you said, I wanted everybody's contact information, right?
Yes.
And then you said, I'm going to create a newsletter, I'm going to be in touch.
Mhm.
And then you follow through with your word.
Yes.
And the Light Project was born.
Yes, the light. The light.
Light.
So my brother at one of my sentencings, my brother came up and he said, "Judge, can I say something?" And the judge said, "Sure." And he said, "My favorite quote is a quote by Viktor Frankl. What is to give light must endure burning." He said, "I think my sister deserves to be in prison, and she's done some burning, but she still has a light to give other people." So then they took me directly back to prison. That was my second sentencing, and that quote always stuck with me. So when I got out, I told my brother, I said, I couldn't even work a computer. I just, none of my, and nothing was firing like it used to,
No.
So he helped me put it together and he said, "What do you want to call this?" Same brother. And I said, "I'm going to call it The Light." So the first issue I send in, it's like 40 girls and a couple guys I know at Phoenix West. And the lady that used to come do AA with us inside the prison, obviously she wasn't in prison. She called me and she said, "Kristen, the girls came carrying that in." It makes me very emotional. She said, "They're crying. You did what you said you're going to do." And so I was able, it goes all over the United States now, mainly in Arizona. But now these girls are all getting out because these girls were on when I was under 5 years.
Yeah.
These girls are all getting out. And for the most part, they're all doing amazing. And they got the newsletter. And now most of them, that I know, some of them are still in there. But then the reason it turned into the Light Project is I wanted to start this program where I could take holistic approaches to reentry and recovery in. So again, I had to put in a proposal, the DOC.
Yeah.
So I named it the Light Project because I wanted to all tie in. My program's called the Sunrise Program. And I didn't know that I necessarily did all this on purpose, but it just all, people say it's my brand. It's not a brand, it's a movement. You know what I mean? It's not a brand. But anybody that knows me, they're going to know when you're talking about me, they're going to be able to know it's the light.
And you have grown that newsletter into a full-fledged program, and now you're the reentry coordinator
Yes.
for Graham County.
Mm-hmm.
And in Graham County, there are no female prisons.
No.
So you're working with the male population.
I work with the male population in Safford, but like tonight I'll be at Perryville. Tomorrow I'll be at Phoenix West. Friday and Saturday I'll be at Perryville all day. So I do work with the females for my county. This is a great thing about me being a part of the Convicted Comeback. I do work the females for my county. Then they can come out and they do my program afterwards. So
Yeah.
they do get the light sunrise problem that way. But there's only male prisons, so that is where I go in and we do the sound healing and what I'd like to do eventually is be able to bring it to Perryville, but and put different people in charge of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm down here a lot, but my main focus is on my programs in Graham County, the ones in the prison and the ones for the people that actually get released. I have to be there.
And I understand that you want to give back to your community.
Mhm.
And you're expanding and you're traveling and then you're really stretching yourself.
Mhm.
But let's go back and talk about your program
Mhm.
that you are bringing into the prisons
Mhm.
with alternative modalities.
Right.
Right? Because I think that the old-fashioned approach to recovery was like, quit drinking.
Yeah.
Stop the drugs,
Mhm.
right? Just say no to the drugs,
Mhm.
right? Say no to drugs. So there's more to that.
Yes.
So you are addressing with the comeback program,
Mm-hmm.
basically it's physical training,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And then you're doing the alternative
Mm-hmm.
modalities, teaching breath work,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're bringing in yoga and you're bringing in sound healing.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, you are now a personal trainer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you also got that certification
Mm-hmm.
to be able to teach inside the prisons.
Right. And the way the Light Project was born is I really wanted to do a program inside the prisons, and somebody upper in the prison had approached me and said, "Can you do something on the 8 dimensions of wellness?" And I said, "Sure." So I put the proposal together, but in the proposal I put, we also do I want to do art therapy, music therapy, we do journaling workshops. So I threw that all in there, and it's still going through. These proposals take forever, but I just got with the CO3 at Safford. So what happened is they asked me to come out and speak to the population one day. So
Yeah.
I'm sharing the story, and I sit in on their classes. They were doing some role playing, and they felt kind of uncomfortable with me in there. So I stepped out. But when I stepped out, I just walked back up into some offices, some of the like upper offices, and I just sat down. I just saw the lady too. And I said, "Here's what I want to do. I want to bring sound bowls here." And she was really on board. And so within a month I was doing that. I was just bold. I just went, but people now, they want to help. It used to be like everybody was like, let's lock them up and throw away the key. I think people are seeing that doesn't work.
For a long time, I think people just chalk that as being woo-woo things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
what is that? But the more that we learn
Mm-hmm.
about how that affects the body,
Right.
I think that there is a little bit more understanding of
Yes.
what that is. So you're doing the reentry program
Mm-hmm.
for Graham County.
Mm-hmm.
Another big thing that I want to talk to you about, because it's huge,
Mm-hmm.
is all the work that you've been doing with fines and fees. Because let me explain this to people.
That's great.
When somebody goes to prison, it depends on what they're pleading guilty to. There are fines and fees for each count.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they were the same date of offense, but each count has fines and fees. Some of the fines and some of the fees are very high.
Yeah.
And when you go in, if you don't start paying right away, which if you have a kitchen job that you're getting paid 50 cents an hour, paying 20, 30, 40, $50,000 is nearly impossible. But on top of that, there is a percentage. So there's like an interest, right? That they add to it. I get calls all the time where people say, I went in with $5,000 and I come out 10 years later and I owe $35,000. How am I going to pay for that? Well, the surcharge, they call it a surcharge, is 89%, right? And then it goes to collections. So it also affects your credit. So now Kristen is doing tremendous work with your local court,
In the Arizona Supreme Court. Yeah.
and you're helping individuals who want to deal with it. Some people say later,
Yeah.
don't bother me. But people who want to really work through their lives and
Mhm.
reestablish themselves are looking to you for help. So how do you help them?
So I speak at, so I'm a second chance graduate. The second chance programs in Arizona, you go there your last like 10 weeks. They offer like CDL, food handlers. There's just different things, but what it really does is it prepares you to get out. So there's a thing called the IRC program, and forever it's helped if you have misdemeanor fees, or if you have court fees, or if you have DMV fees, they will help you get rid of that.
Those are small fees.
Those are small fees.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever touched felony fees. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to make the judge mad that fined them. But I was speaking at a second chance program about my Sunrise program, where I take people that are just barely charged. And she said, "You sound like you have a really good relationship with your judge." I said, "Yeah, he sends me to prison, but yeah, I do." And so she
You
told me
get
what she wanted to
close
do.
circle.
Yeah. She told me what she wanted to do, and felony, bigger fees. So I just set up a meeting with my judge, and I didn't hear anything for a while. And one day she called me and she said, we just put a pilot program out there. So that's when I go to the prison, you have to be a second chance graduate. You have to show that you're going to try to change your life. But what my judge will do is when you're released, you have to come in and meet with him, and he wants your support system if they can come meet with him.
Yeah.
He'll figure out what's minimum wage, and he just doesn't knock stuff off. He's not going to just, oh, here's this person that owes $30,000. Okay.
Yeah.
He meets with them. They do certain things, and he meets with them again in 6 months, and then he might take a big chunk off. But I have a girl, she's actually just graduated a few months ago and got out, and she had $30,000 in fines. And I went to his office with her, and she told me straight up, she said, I just want to go back. She's like, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to go back anyways because of these fines. And now she's got a job at a local food pantry, and he's helping her work through these. So my initiative now, or what I'm part of now, is trying to get people into the second chance program so they can get these benefits
Before they get released.
before they get released. Because if you're not in the second chance program, the main thing is there's a whole part of the Arizona Supreme Court IRC program that's what she does. But her name's Janita Zendeja. She's amazing. But you got to be in the second chance because that shows your capacity to want to change.
So is that available for everybody in prison?
The second chance?
Yes.
If you are releasing, it's available to you. I was just for 2 days in Safford on a medium unit, and you don't usually think about them because you're on a medium unit, you're not getting out. Sure they are. They're releasing from the medium units. So that's what we're trying to do right now is give people the benefits. Plus you can leave there with the CDL. We're working on putting coding in there. We're going to be building some programs. The Light Project was actually, I don't want to say created with somebody who is still incarcerated. He's a recovery sports specialist. He's going to get out in a few months here, but he actually helped me develop that program. Not everybody's just sitting in there.
No, but I think that it's good to spread the word.
Yes.
Everybody knows that it's a choice.
Absolutely.
When you go in, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have that down period where you're grieving, leaving your freedom behind. But at some point, you do have a choice to join various programs. And then also the second chance program is to prepare you for release.
It is. They give you interviewing skills. The job I have now, actually, I was able to reach out to them, and because I'm from that county, and I just said, hey, I want to start volunteering. I want to make a better reentry program there. And I started volunteering. Within a few months, I had a little mentoring job, and then it just worked into this job. But the second chance program gives people the opportunity to learn some of these skills, and that is the thing. You come to a point where you have to make a choice in prison because girls would be walking around on Christmas like, we should be home, we should be this. And I'm like, you know what? For the 3 years before I went to prison, I wasn't home on Christmas. I was in the closet drinking somewhere or just breaking my family's heart. So you guys remember what? I was freer than prison and happier in prison than I had been in years because I wasn't in my addiction and I got to talk to my family.
Do you think that going to prison provided you the space that you needed to focus on yourself without the noise and the responsibilities?
Yeah, that's why COVID was kind of actually nice. Not nice because I couldn't hardly use the phone and I didn't get visits. So, you couldn't have any of that. So you're just, focus on disconnection. And prison people say to me though, is it all worth it? Would you do it again? Absolutely not. I would not do it again. I would make better choices.
Yeah.
But that's not how it is. And so there's not very many females in Arizona though that are going back in and helping the women. There's a lot of men doing it. So obviously my focus is on the females because I was in prison with them.
Do you think that might be because there's such a shame?
I do. And I also think that women get out of prison and go back to the same situations. They go back to the same men. They go back to the same. It is because of the shame, but I 100% get it. My best friend, she did 26 years and she is like, I will not even step in that parking lot. I don't, some people want to leave prison and leave it behind.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm pretty bold. I decided that's what I wanted to do. But people ask me all the time, hey, I want to do what you want to do. Can you tell me how to do it? Well, I can direct you in the right direction, but it's a lot of work. You're going to have to go. The only other females that I know that are really doing it are the females that I'm involved with that in convicted comeback that were incarcerated with me.
So it's not a quick fix for anybody who has a loved one inside or them themselves who are inside serving time.
Mm.
So if somebody's watching this
Mhm.
and they're about to go to prison or they have a family member, a loved one who's in prison, what kind of words of advice can you share for them to take that initial step? Because there's so much that they
Mhm.
can do. So you have a history with AA.
Mhm.
You have leaned on AA for
Mhm.
your sobriety, but that was not just all. You did so much more.
Right. And I do get people reach out to me all the time, and I'm so scared and I'm this and that, and I just do it is doable. Prison isn't what you see on TV. If you get yourself in there, and you can go to college in there, if you get yourself in there and take any program they offer you, if you just, and I don't mean keep your head down, but if you just put your head down and you're going to do this, you have another choice, you make it your life.
Yeah.
Um my family was very worried about me when I went to prison because all they've seen is what's on TV, and when I wouldn't hear from them and scared, and they were really upset all the time. And when I would call them, I'm in there playing volleyball, taking college classes, making brownies with my friends, and I'm calling home and they're just devastated. So it was harder on them than it was on me,
Yeah.
because you can make prison miserable. I know people, girls too, that have just, they fight and they don't want to change, and they're always going to be on a medium yard. But there's a lot of girls that I was incarcerated with that came out and are just doing amazing. Men too. It's not cool to be in prison anymore. It used to kind of be. It used to be the thing, and it is not cool. And it's it is doable. I mean, I come from a small town. I would say that I was somewhat spoiled growing up. I come from a very good, well-known family, and I wound up in prison, but they were not going to enable me. Um, but I also have a lot of confidence to where I was going to stand up for myself. You have to walk in there with purpose. Like, you can't let anybody know that you're scared or you're anything, because people will prey on you.
Yeah.
But you can get in with the right. You just have to go to church, and I don't
Find
care
the
what.
right people.
Find the right people.
Look for Kristen.
Yes, or some of my friends. Yeah.
Yeah. Look for the programs,
Yes.
the second chance, the
Def
comeback program.
Mhm.
I mean, there's got to be a reentry coordinator at every prison.
There is, and we're all going in at Perryville. We go once a month and visit every single yard, and all the girls know we're coming. I was just telling my parents, it's kind of funny when I went to Fort Grant the other day, because of my newsletter and because of I do things on the tablet. When I walked in, all the guys were like, "That's Kristen Johnson. Kristen's here. Kristen's here." I told my parents I never knew I was going to be famous inside prisons, but they depend on people like us. And when I tell them I'm going back, I have to go back. Arizona really is reimagining corrections, because the fact that they let me, I just got off intense probation. The fact that they let me and some of my friends and people I know go back in, that would have never happened when I was in prison.
But you did the work.
Did the work.
It's not
Continue to.
just anyone.
No.
And then you work on yourself every day today.
Every day. And I've been able to get this job. I just became a personal trainer, not but I was able to do all the paperwork, and it's almost done. I'm getting my badge through DLC. All the signatures are there. I'm just waiting for it to come through. So when we go, several convicted come back are badged, and when we go in, the first time we went in, it's me and three girls I was in prison with, and I just look at him. I'm like, they're letting us walk around this prison by ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, so, and the girls love it. It's very inspiring to the girls. It's, they say
Of
it.
course.
Yeah.
You are an inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you so, so much for sharing so much about your work.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
story. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Join us for our next episode. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.